Hello everyone, I am Dr. Deepanjali Borse working at Department of English at Srimati Pushpata Hire Mahila Mahavidyalay Malegaon camp. In this video, I am going to illustrate on Act 2nd of the drama A Midsummer Night's Dream. Act 2nd is about the fairies. Scene 1st is about a love charm. The second act takes us to the time and place where the lovers Lysander and Hermia are to meet and the clowns, that means the artisans, are coming to rehearse their play. We find the wood already in possession of the fairy court. It was a belief of the time that fairies celebrated their festivities during the night prior to the popular festivities of human beings. It means the approaching marriage ceremony of Theseus and Hippolyta is being celebrated by the fairies in the wood. So all the fairy court have come from their home for the celebration in the honor of the day and the approaching marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta. The fairy king Oberon and queen Titania have arrived with their attendants and a court joker Puke, who is an elfish, that means a small mischievous spirit. We learn that Oberon and Titania have quarreled over a boy stolen from an Indian king. The queen is keeping the boy to grace her court and the king wants to make him a knight. Before that, Puke meets one of Titania's attendants. She tells that she is preparing the place for her queen who is about to arrive. Puke warns her to keep the queen out of the sight of Oberon, who intends to celebrate his festivities here. He explains the cause of the quarrel between the two and how that whenever they meet they argue so violently that the fairies creep into acorn cups for fear. Acorn is a fruit of oak tree. The fairy now recognizes Puke, who is a mischievous spirit called Robin Goodfellow, who frightens village maids and plays tricks on the housewives and those whom he finds wandering about at night. Oberon and Titania now arrive on the scene, coming from different directions. The king expresses his annoyance upon meeting the queen and calls her proud. She also accuses him of jealousy and tells her attendants to leave the place hence to avoid being present at their quarrel. She is also about to leave but the king holds her. She accuses him of taking the shape of a shepherd and making love to shepherdess and his love for Hippolyta, who is about to marry. Oberon also answers with accusations of her old love for Theseus. She denies it, terming it pure jealousy on his part. Oberon answers that the fault is all hers. He wants a possession of a changeling boy. The queen tells him that his mother had worshipped her as her patron and in return she guarded her from harm on the sands of India before the child was born. And when the mother died, she took charge of her baby and taking care of him. Then the quarrel ends and the queen asks the king to join with her in their dances that night. But the king Oberon consents on condition that she give the boy to him. She again refuses and leaves with her attendants. Oberon, after she disappears, calls Puke and commands him to fly around the world to look for and bring him a flower upon which one of Cupid's arrows has landed. Cupid is the ancient Roman god of love and the son of either Mars or Mercury and Venus, commonly represented as a winged naked infant boy with a bow and arrows. Cupid is symbolic for love. It is the fairy king's intention to take out the juice from the flower and pour it upon the eyes of Titania while she sleeps, so that upon awakening she will fall in love with the first living object she sees, whether it would be a man or beast. In this way, Oberon hopes to obtain the child from her. Puke sets off on his search for the flower, and Oberon stands alone in the wood, invisible to mortal eyes. He sees that people are coming and he decides to listen to their conversation. Demetrius and Helena enters the wood in search of Lysander and Hermia. Demetrius criticizes Helena for following him and scolds her to run away and leave him alone. Helena expresses her love for Demetrius and requests to be allowed to remain at his side even though he does not want her. This request is harshly rejected by Demetrius, but Helena decides to follow him. Puke re-enters with the flower. Oberon decides to sprinkle some of its juice on Demetrius's eyelids so that he will fall in love with Helena. He instructs Puke to search a man dressed in Athenian garments, that means Demetrius, and tells the spirit Puke to drop a little of the flower juice into his eyes. Puke leaves for this mission and starts his search for Demetrius in the wood. The purpose of scene first is it introduces the part of the fairies in the play. It also announces the arrival of Demetrius and Helena in the wood and Oberon's knowledge of their presence. This scene is preparing for future complications. This scene also creates interest in a Shakespearean audience by recounting their beliefs in the personality and powers of the fairy world. Now we'll see scene second. Scene second is about Puke's mistake. Scene second is in another part of the wood. We are taken to another part of the wood to Titania and her attendants who are making merry, dancing and singing until the queen is tired. Then the queen assigns various duties to her fairies and commanding them to sing her to sleep before they depart. The fairies are first to sing the queen to sleep and then set about their duties like killing worms in rosebuds, making garments for themselves, and preventing owls from disturbing their queen. Oberon enters and finds the queen asleep and sprinkles the juice of the flower upon her eyelids, uttering the spell which will make her fall in love with the first living creature she sees. Then he leaves the place. Lysander and Hermia arrive at the spot. They have lost their way in the woods on their journey to the house of Lysander's aunt and became tired after having walked so long away. Lysander learns that he cannot find his way out at night and so decides to spend the night in the wood. They lie down a little apart from each other and soon are fast asleep. Puke, in search of a man dressed in Athenian garment, comes across the sleeping couple and mistaking Lysander for Demetrius and puts the juice in Lysander's eyes. Then Demetrius returns to the scene followed by Helena. But Helena is exhausted and unable to run with Demetrius, so she gives up the chase. As Helena wanders hopelessly, weeping, saw the sleeping Lysander and fearing that he has suffered some hurt, so she awakens him. The result is that the first person he sees on opening his eyes is Helena, and he falls madly in love with her. Helena cannot believe it possible when she hears Lysander disapproved his love with Hermia for her. She criticizes him for making a mockery of her and tell him that Hermia still loves him. But Lysander follows her, firmly convinced that he never wishes to see Hermia again. Hermia eventually awakes and finding that Lysander has gone, she became fearful and sets off immediately to search for Lysander. So the purpose of scene second Here we can say it describes the fairy and love stories. It introduces the complications following on the charms, the misdirected love of Titania and Lysander. In this way, here Act 2 ends. We will see the next third act in the next video.